Hi, Macross Junkie here. Welcome to our second episode of Action Figure Stuff. Today, we are going to compare the Hasbro Black Series Clone Trooper Phase 2 to the SH Figuarts Clone Trooper Phase 2. Let's start by taking a look. Okay, here's a picture of them side by side. You will notice first that the SH Figuarts is on the right and the Hasbro is on the left. Now, you'll notice that the SH Figuarts is shorter. That can be a complaint with some collectors. I personally like the SH Figuarts over the Hasbro. The shortness, Figuarts has always been kind of funny with their height. For instance, their Vader was the same height as Luke. Han and Chewie are extremely tall. Luke is extremely short. The Stormtroopers are average height, and Phasma is a giant. They're kind of all over the place with size, but again, when you're taking photographs outside and you have some on top of a rock and some below a rock, the size variation really doesn't matter that much. Now let's look at what these two come with. Now to begin, the Hasbro only comes with a large blaster and a small blaster, whereas the SH Figuarts comes with a small blaster, a large blaster, as well as 6 extra hands. Now, of course, we know that Hasbro has never come with extra hands except for the Han Solo that they did a few years back, and they did for the 40th anniversary. But, that's just, we are talking a $20 figure compared to a $45 figure. But, Hasbro, come on, Hasbro, pick up your game. You've done so good with the 40th anniversary line. Why do older figures like this have to suck so bad? Okay, let's take a look at another photo. The next one is a close-up comparison of the two helmets side by side. Now, I've heard some complaints about the SH Figuarts helmet. Some people say it's not as accurate. They say that that it's too pudgy and that the shape isn't quite right. Personally, I love the SH Figuart helmet. I kind of look at the SH Figuart helmet as kind of a in-between between the prequel movies and the Clone Wars cartoon series, because the armor from the SH Figuarts does take a few liberties when it comes to the Clone Wars series. But the helmets, strangely enough, the Hasbro helmet sculpt is good. The aerators on the front look like they're just painted on, whereas you'll notice the aerators on the SH Figuarts are sculpted. Everything else, though, looks about even. Next up, we have a picture of the two large rifles. Now, you'll notice on the left is the Hasbro, and on the right is the SH Figuarts. First thing you'll notice about the SH Figuarts is you'll notice there's detail to the rifle. The rivets, the little silver rivets and bolts, the little scope thing on the bottom is actually painted bronzish gray, and even the stock is painted just a hair, woodish compared to the Hasbro one, which is just one big chunk of black plastic. And the strange thing is, this clone figure that I'm displaying from Hasbro came out of the Amazon exclusive 4-pack, and the Phase 1 Clone Trooper actually had a painted rifle with details, but the Phase 2 didn't. It's like, especially with a set, with an Amazon set that cost $100, you'd think that they would ante up on both rifles, but, Hasbro, slacked again. Next up is the small, I think these are the DC-15s. Again, you'll notice now the SH Figuart rifle is a little bit smaller than the Hasbro one, which I think is more screen accurate. The Hasbro one looks big and goofy, whereas, the SH Figuarts looks a lot smaller, a lot more compact, just the way the rifle was supposed to be in both the Clone Wars cartoons and the movies. Next up, we have a side-by-side comparison of the side of the helmets as well as a height comparison. Yeah, there's a big height comparison. I can't deny that. I'll be the first to admit that the SH Figuarts is a little bit short. But, again, the detail that the SH Figuart has is phenomenal compared to the Hasbro. And I mean, and Hasbro's done a good job with figures before. They did a good job on their Sand Trooper. They did a good job on the Imperial Fleet Trooper. And I don't understand why they can be so hit and miss, you know, doing so great with some figures and then completely sucking with others. Another thing I hate about the Hasbro figure is look at these giant shoulder bells. I mean, that is just, I mean, I'm sorry. It doesn't look right. It doesn't look correct to me. The SH Figuart has much smaller shoulder bells, plus they're adjustable, which I will show later in the video. Next up is a side-by-side comparison from head to toe. One thing you'll notice about the Hasbro is I did try to get him in a slump position, you know, a more relaxed position, but there's literally no articulation in the waist, and the elbows have the worst articulation ever of probably any black figure that I've ever experienced. The SH Figuart, you know, you can get that slump down. The one inaccuracy I will say about the SH Figuarts is the knee pads. The knee pads are supposed to wrap around the back of the knee. The Hasbro does have that right, but, you know, again, that has to do with the way that the SH Figuart is made for the adjustable joints. Because, I mean, one, the joints are hidden, which you can see on the Hasbro, all the joints as little pegs. You know, hate those little pegs. And then you can also see that, you know, on the SH Figuarts, it looks much more natural. Next up, we have a side-by-side from the rear. Now, I honestly have to, you know, they look about the same. I like the SH Figuarts a little better. It's got more detail in the back. This big box on the back isn't, you know, with the little knobs and dials isn't as big. The one thing I will say is the Hasbro, though, detailed theirs. I do like that. I like the paint app inside the little dots and notches. That would be something that SH Figuarts could do, because SH Figuarts isn't known for huge giant paint apps when it comes to stuff. They're a very simplistic company, but of course that's the Japanese way. I mean, you know, simple is easy, you know, minimalist. Again, you can see the elbow joints in the Hasbro figure, big goofy pins, makes it look awkward and not quite correct. Everything else though is about the same. Let's see. Next up, we have a kneeling pose. Now, this gives you an idea of how much more well articulated the SH Figuarts is. Notice that I've tried to get the Hasbro figure in a kneeling pose, and he looks like he's about to fall over. I mean, he's just got to lean back, you know. But the SH Figuarts can bend at the waist, so he can actually lean forward into the kneel, and it makes it look more natural. Great for shots, you know, when you're taking photos of shots hiding behind a rock or a barrier shooting over the top. You know, again, one more reason why I like the SH Figuarts. Here's a close-up. Sorry, this one's a little blurry, but it's a close-up of the SH Figuarts helmet. Again, gives you a better idea of the helmet differences. I'm not going to go with that one since that one's a little blurry. Here's the side view. Side view's a lot better. You can see that the helmet's well detailed. The actual blue, the lines on the side of the helmet that are painted on the Hasbro version are actually carved notches on this. Again, one of those attention to detail things that I just love about SH Figuarts. You know, here's a detail of the back of the helmet. Again, you can see the back plate. Next up here is the Hasbro from the front. Again, like I said, it's got a good paint job, but the detail is lacking. I mean, the blue stripes are painted on. The aerators on the front look like they're just painted on to a flat surface. Same thing with the voice modulator in the middle of the helmet. The only part of the helmet that even looks like it has notches and paint to it are the frown down below the eyes. Let's see. Next is a side view of the Hasbro. Not bad. Again, lack of detail. Again, giant shoulder pads. You'll notice that the connector that holds the front plate to the back plate is very nonchalant. It doesn't have much detail to it. Let's take a look at the back. Back of the helmet. Now, this is one thing I don't know which is more accurate. This has notice the little circle in the middle of the helmet? This just has a line that goes across, but the SH Figuart has a cross. I don't know if it's a difference in detail. Don't know. That's something I'd have to reference an actual movie photo to find out, to see which is actually screen accurate. Now here's the photo I told you about the elbow, or I mean not the elbow, but the shoulder. The shoulder. Notice this little pivoting joint that allows the shoulder bell to come out. This pivoting joint allows the shoulder to get great articulation and great, it feels perfect to me. It's a well done, and they'd use this exact same kind of joint on the Rogue One Stormtrooper as well. It works really good. I like this a lot better than the Mafex Stormtroopers or the Mafex Sandtrooper, which is connected the shoulder bell at the shoulder under the plate strap. But again, that's one of my personal preferences. Finally, our last photo, a John Woo standoff. Now, again, like I said, the SH Figuarts, this isn't my best pose that I've done, but I tried to get him with a more relaxed look. Also, you notice in the wrist, you can actually adjust the wrist to do a slump in the wrist, as well as a notch or slump in the elbow. Whereas the Hasbro figure on the left, the arm, that's the articulate, that's as far out as you can bend the arm. He basically looks like he has, he's got roid rage, man. And there's also one other thing, and you can't see from this photos, but if you go back and look at past photos that I showed, in fact, let's show the beginning photo one more time and you can see it. The Hasbro figure has, what I like to refer to as cowboy up legs. He looks like he's going to ride a horse. His legs are a lot farther out than the SH Figuarts, and that's as close in as you can get them. Again, I just don't understand. Hasbro has done so good with some figures and then has completely, shot the horse in the head with others. And this is one of those figures where they've shot the horse in the head. Really disappointed in the Clone Trooper for Hasbro. Again, like I said, the SH Figuart is my personal preference, and I don't want to make a point. This isn't me bashing on the Hasbro because I like SH Figuarts better. I wanted to give an honest comparison as to why the SH Figuarts is better. Again, everybody has their personal preference. I know Arnax Nimrod, my partner at Action Figure Stuff, he prefers the Bandai model of the Clone Trooper. And like I said, the model is beautiful. In fact, you can see two of his Bandai models in the opening credits of our podcast. And it's a beautiful figure. It just doesn't do it for me like the SH Figuarts does. But of course, that's personal preference. But again, when it comes to actual facts, the SH Figuarts and the Bandai model are far superior to the Black Series, which is saying a lot considering the Bandai model is only like $20, and the SH Figuarts and the Black Series is only $20. It's like, if you're going to put out a $20 figure, come on, man. You can do better than this. Just because you're a super huge corporation who mass produces figures on an enormous scale doesn't mean you can't have good quality control. The Japanese have been pumping out toys for years and have had amazing quality control. Not just in Star Wars, but in everything from Macross to Gundam. It's like, why can't an American company do as good as a Japanese company when it comes to something like this? The SH Figuarts, the Bandai model, those are the figures the fans wanted. And the Mafex Clone Trooper that just came out. Planning on checking that out soon too. So keep an eye out for us. When that one comes around, we will probably be doing a review on that too. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Action Figure Stuff. Make sure to check us out on Facebook. Make sure to like us on YouTube and subscribe. And thanks again, guys. Bye.